welcome to Fierce Politics. Thank you for tuning into the show and FBTV 25.1. Today we have two great hosts, two great guests. Josh Roberts, he's from Massachusetts, member of the Dragon Field team here at Franklin Pierce, as well as a political science major. Thank you for being here, Josh.
Thank you for having me.
And we have a freshman all the way from New Jersey, Joe Pinella. He's a business management major, and we're really glad to have you here.
Thank you for the
Joe, if
opportunity.
you stay with business, you might be running for president soon.
No, probably not.
Uh,
I don't think we'll be running for president. Not anytime soon. I gotta be 35 first.
well, that's what I'm saying. Stay with school. So, Joe, you watched the debate on last Wednesday, and you and a lot of other Americans, you witnessed what some call a Hillary versus Bernie show. So, Joe, who do you think ultimately won the debate and why? Do you think it was someone like O'Malley who was under the radar, or do you think it was more of a Bernie or Hillary?
I think Bernie Sanders did a phenomenal job in the debate. Not only did he concisely express all his key points and beliefs, but he did those without attacking any other opponents.
It's almost like kind of like a anti-Donald Trump move.
Essentially, he's almost laying back, and then Donald Trump is much more aggressive and forward.
Yeah. So, do you think that ultimately there was some sort of concession made that Bernie would be backing off, or do you believe that what the Bernie people said and that it was a freak move that he made by saying to Hillary that the emails don't matter?
I mean, not necessarily. There's other key points in the election that's going to really determine who's going to be the best candidate. So I don't think that's going to really necessarily hold him back.
So yeah, you don't see any problems.
Nope.
Tell me, you're an interesting perspective as a junior, a little more different age group of people you're in class with than Joe. And can you really describe to us what the phenomenal about Bernie Sanders is with like people your age? One person from the school today wrote in the Boston Herald that most people around this campus like Bernie Sanders and have a fascination by him. Do you agree why people like around your age, or what are your thoughts about that?
Well, based on his socialist leanings and based on past experiences, and I'm talking historically, uh, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds are generally going to lean more liberally and more socialist. That's why you saw a lot of it in the 70s and 80s. That's who was protesting. It was a lot of liberal hippies. And you also had a lot of the socialist movements and later the communist movements. But people our age generally seem to recognize and hope for making a better world in equality and utilizing things like free health care and greater protection for the poor and all of those things. They still see those as a realistic dream, and they haven't really had a realism yet about it. They haven't operated enough in the open world, and they haven't operated enough in a business capacity to really see that there's a lot holding that back and a lot of bureaucracy in the way. So that's why they'll lean more towards the socialist aspect of it.
Right. So you think that the ideology almost matches what 18 and 20-year-olds is thinking? But you mentioned 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. Now you're about 20 years old. Um you're around like 20, 21, 22-year-olds. Part of a team and a lot of upperclassmen classes. Do you find that people who are about to enter the world and start paying taxes and those kind of things, those people are leaning towards Bernie Sanders for the same reasons, or do you think it's just the people that just got into school and can see like a free education?
Well, no, I could see a lot of people will still retain a more liberal view on things, but if you check back a couple years out of college, say a 25-year-old, they're definitely going to start to have a much more conservative attitude about a lot of things now that they've had to pay into the system and they believe that they've seen people who aren't paying their fair share. They'll start to pull back a little bit on the entirety of equality and the entirety of just everyone deserves everything. So you'll start to see a more conservative drive as people age and as they move towards finding a career and sticking with that career and trying to defend themselves in that career.
Now, Joe, do you have anything to chime in? From the 18-year-old perspective, you just got into college. Do you think that people, like your freshman class, really see Bernie Sanders as the ideological, almost perfect match?
Well, I do actually believe a lot of Sean's beliefs are actually very correct and they're very concise. But to be completely honest with you, I feel like Bernie Sanders is almost just like Obama again. Just like you saw how the previous election, Obama was dominating. All of the college kids were just running out votes for him and stuff like that. Not only were they uninformed, but they were new voters and they wanted to just vote. And from what they saw from Obama and from what Bernie Sanders is doing, they're trying to create a much better economy for people growing up.
Now, we just released a poll today from the Boston Herald and Pennsylvania University, and it mentioned a lot about how people don't feel Bernie Sanders can't win the election, the general election, and that they wouldn't vote for him in the primary because they don't want to lose the Democratic Party. So, and one of the big key components of that is that the youth vote won't vote in the general election or the primary, so then Bernie Sanders will lose. Do you think that, like you mentioned the bomber approach to it, do you think that Bernie Sanders will be able to capture a lot of young voters?
I think he will capture a lot of the young voters. Not only is he's going to a lot of campuses, but he's out there first before most of the other competitors, because that gives him the competitive edge to capture new voters and uninformed voters, which are college students my age and like ourselves.
One other candidate that's been really interesting around here in southern New Hampshire is the phenomenon of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is leading the polls in New Hampshire still for the second time, or for the Boston Herald Pennsylvania University poll. John, I really want to get your perspective. Like, do you think that a lot of college students are leaning, especially after these last results, are leaning towards not necessarily supporting Donald Trump, but recognizing him as a actual candidate?
I think a lot of kids our age don't see him as a legitimate candidate, but they see him in the social sphere. They know who he is, and he's much more familiar to a lot of these people than, say, just about any of the other Republican representatives. With Bernie Sanders, people had no idea who he is. Hillary, a lot of kids our age might have a vague idea of what Clinton did in office and what she might stand for, but Donald Trump, everyone's heard about him at least once or twice, even though he's probably the worst choice.
So you don't want to say that people our age, the 18 to 24-year-old block, only recognize him for The Apprentice, not necessarily, but at the same time, as well as for some other candidates that they don't recognize.
I think that people are drawn to him initially because it's a person that they've heard of before, and because he pulls all of these stunts that attract so much media attention, and he has so many headlines, people are starting to listen. And like Joe was saying, a lot of uninformed voters will hear what he's saying and think it makes a lot of sense, which to a lot of older people it does because they've had to go through a few economic dips, and now maybe keeping migrants out with a big fence is a good idea. Maybe cutting some of these taxes or raising taxes on people is a really good idea, but he's just going about it in such a wrong way that a lot of people who are informed on politics just can't believe he's done this much.
So do you think that Donald Trump would be able to potentially even win the primary in New Hampshire or possibly for the Republican Party? Do you see that as a pretty good possibility? Or do you see as the informed voter is going to outweigh the uninformed voter?
I think based on if you look at a lot of statistics for primary voting, that's a lot more informed voters, and it's a lot older of an age group. Generally, it's above 30, and a lot of those people will make their decision and stick with the candidate. And Trump isn't doing as well with the older voters as he was in the beginning. He started to have a slide after some of his more recent comments about women and Mexicans. But I think there's a very good chance that he can put up a solid fight in the primary. I don't know if the Republican Party could even put their name next to him.
Joe, do you have any perspective on that?
Well, just like he's saying, Donald Trump isn't necessarily the best opportunity for us, but he is one of the presidents that are very set on getting what they want to get done, and if they don't get it done, someone else has to do it for them. Me personally, I do think Donald Trump can turn this country around, but however, that guy is so aggressive, he can possibly bring us into another war that's not only going to take more money and resources out of our country, but we can be using that money for educational systems and other public services as well.
So, what would you say, Joe, is your biggest issue that you look at, your biggest, what you want the president to do next
Well,
in this election season?
as a freshman in college, the next 4 years of my life are going to really dictate who I'm going to be and what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
And if I have a president who can effectively stimulate the economy and create much more jobs, I have a better chance out of college or either out of grad school to find a good job in a find a stable financial situation.
You would say the economic situation.
Yes.
Josh, what's your biggest issue this election season?
As far as what?
As far as what would you consider your biggest thing you want to see out of your next president? Whether it's domestic policy, foreign policy, campaign reform.
I'd like to see a lot more, definitely more campaign reform, and to remove a lot of the lobbying issues that the country has, where big money can buy a lot of votes and buy a lot more airtime. I want to see that gone, and I also want to see a much more reserved foreign policy as far as military intervention and use.
Final question before we wrap it up. Not in your own ideological concerns or who do you want to vote for, but who do you think, Joe, will win both nominees for both parties if the primary was right now?
To be completely honest with you, I can't give you a very good example of that. But I would say most likely Bernie Sanders, because he does have a very high competitive edge. He has a lot of votes already, and on top of that, just like I said before, a lot of his key interests and his key opinions of what he's going to do with his country, he expresses effectively throughout the debate, and that won a lot of people over.
Do you think the debate had a big impact on the New Hampshire primary?
I would say the debate did have a very large impact.
Oh, that's very interesting to see. As you know, a lot of research will try to say that the debates don't matter, but I would have to concede that debates were pretty, especially in that time period, very important. Josh, how about you? I know you don't want to give a prediction on statistics or whatever without being present to you, but if you got to guess, who would you say?
If I was going to guess, as far as who everyone would want to vote for and who everyone would want to see, it'd definitely be Bernie Sanders, like you're saying, because the debate was the biggest media attention he's received, just because he's going on an attempted low-budget campaign. However, I think based on the way the American election system works, the amount of money that Hillary has will put her ahead in the polls, just because she can spend $1 million a day and still sit on a high horse at the end of it. She'll be just fine. So I think in terms of money, Hillary's going to win out. And I think in terms of popular opinion, Bernie's going to win out.
I think it's a very good opinion to consider that Hillary Clinton does have a lot more money, so she can send out her campaign to a lot more people and see it.
Yeah, it's a bigger platform. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for tuning into Here's Politics so far. We got 2 more guests coming up after the break.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.
An anime is the Japanese word for animation.
Originally meant for Japanese audiences and then broadcasted to American audiences in English dubbed versions.
They were sort of also influenced by American cartoons, but mostly it just means a cartoon made in Japan.
Every meeting we discuss what we talk about in our e-board sessions. Talk about what's going on in SGA first. We announce different events coming up. Like for instance, trips to conventions and events around campus.
The events we have put on in the past are a trip for our members to go to convention, usually of their choosing.
Another anime con is in the middle of October. This is a highlight for me.
All different kinds of events and panels there, and a nice dealer's room.
I went there last year. It was my first ever major con I ever went to. I loved it.
In the spring we go to the Cherry Blossom Festival, and it's very wonderful. We get to see the cherry blossoms blooming and go to a nice Japanese festival. Banzai! We have anime discussion because we're all anime lovers here in a forum, so we discuss anime.
It's Yona of the Dawn.
It's a show set in I'm not sure if it's Japanese, but just a feudal society where a princess is cast out of her kingdom.
We're always accepting new members at any time during the year.
If you are an incoming freshman, this club is awesome.
You don't even have to sign up for the club. You can just walk right in.
It's so friendly, and it's a great place to make friends that you'll keep for the rest of your college years.
Welcome back to Pierce Politics. We're joined now by Ronald Cooper, freshman here at Franklin Pierce University. Always works wonderful. And we have Sean DeLay, sophomore here, plays lacrosse. So you guys both are part of the primary class here at Franklin Pierce, and we know we just released our newest polls for the Republican and Democratic Party. I want to get your take, Ronnie, about what do you think makes Donald Trump lead these polls again in New Hampshire twice in a row?
He's brave. It's more than twice, and it's more than just in New Hampshire. He's leading nationally. He's beating Carson. He's beating Freeman.
Right.
He's beating the front runner we all thought would be Jeb Bush. But he's brazen. He's saying what people want to hear as opposed to what they need to be hearing. He's not saying really substantive policies. He's just saying so and so is horrible. So and so is bad. I don't like so and so. However, today on the Herald Radio, when we were talking with him, he's changed it a little bit, and I'm expecting his poll numbers to go down. He's kind of mellowing out, lowering his rhetoric. He's not as much of a braggadocious guy as he once was.
So you think that by lowering his outgoing personality on social media and attacking people will actually lower his poll numbers?
I think it'll lower his poll numbers substantially over time. I mean, as we were in class today, you two both heard Dr. Nevius when she said she told someone that I had basically attacked Trump, and they had Trump tweeted about me yet. So, I mean, with someone with that sort of record, I don't really think that he can sustain a high image level at a positive level, if that makes sense.
So you don't think that he's just going to cruise right into, maybe lose a few points here and there, but cruise right into the nominee? You don't think that's going to happen?
No, people of New Hampshire and people across the entire country want a seasoned politician because a seasoned politician knows what they're doing. Donald Trump would go in and just not know what to do. I mean, he'd be sort of a Lincoln Chafee in which I didn't know what I was doing. My dad just died. I was appointed by the governor situation. That's not an excuse. You're president of the United States. You need to go in. And I don't think Trump has the record to do that.
I said they need a seasoned politician. Now, Sean, you've seen Ben Carson, Carl Fiorina rise up in the polls. They're not necessarily seasoned politicians. Who do you see, if it's not those three, as the nominee for the Republican Party?
Either Marco Rubio or Jeb Bush.
Really?
I do. Well, they're the next behind the Carson, Fiorina, and Trump. I think a lot of people expected them to do very well in the polls. They're actually surprised that they didn't do as well as they are, and more shocked that Trump, Carson, and Fiorina, three non-politicians, are in the lead. So I do expect, if or when Trump drops out or starts to fail in the polls, that Marco Rubio or Bush will start to take the lead.
Now, how do you think, though, aside from Donald Trump and the other non-politicians dropping out or just failing, how do you think they're really going to be able to do something they haven't done already in order to get success with either young people or middle-class people?
Well, I think that's their whole candidacy, what they're running for, their whole campaign is that they're not career politicians, so they're not what's wrong with the government. Because right now, there are a lot of people in the country that are fed up with what's going on. They think, backroom deals, money in politics, and they can sit there and say, well, I'm not part of the problem because I'm not a career politician. So vote for me because I'm not the problem, I'm the solution,
But as far as Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio gaining poll numbers, which they would have to do in order to, get the nomination, how do you think they're going to be able to pull that off?
Oh, well, both of them have massive super PACs and a lot of donors. Jeb Bush has several GOP bigwigs behind him right now. I think they both have the money to keep going on in the campaign.
So you think they're just going to be able to ride it out and just wait for?
I think they will. They have the money to do so.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a pretty good assessment. Ronnie, what do you think? You think they're going to, have a big power move? Do a Bill Clinton comeback king? Right before the New Hampshire primary, or do you think that eventually just the top they're going to fall out and they're just going to scoop right back in?
One of the things that we have to recognize about any primary is that it doesn't necessarily pick the candidate. I mean, Hillary Clinton won in New Hampshire, I believe, in 2008, and it's not a President Clinton; it's a President Obama. Bill Clinton lost. I forget to who, but it's not uncommon to lose New Hampshire yet win the presidency and win the nomination overall. So I think it's possible, even if Jeb Bush, John Kasich don't necessarily win New Hampshire, they could be the presidential nominee for the Republican Party.
So you gotta say New Hampshire is a pretty big impact.
New Hampshire is a pretty big impact because it somewhat sets the tone for the general election. However, it doesn't necessarily set it in granite. It sort of just it suggests to the people of America that because Iowa and New Hampshire together and somewhat South Carolina are basically purple states, that the candidates that we tend to choose more often than not are more moderate and more willing to get things done for both sides.
Very good, Ronnie. Sean, the buzz around here has been, I would definitely have to say Bernie Sanders when it comes to college kids and even like professors. People are really about Bernie Sanders. Describe the phenomenon with Bernie Sanders at this school. What views do you think people at this university see Bernie Sanders at?
Well, if you look at Bernie Sanders' track record, which I think a lot of people do, he has been harping on the same issues that got him to where he is now. And I think that straightforward politician is what a lot of people enjoy in him. And that's why a lot of younger people are like him and will vote for him. It's also, he's been very adamant in going after social media to get the younger vote.
Do you think that social media attack in a positive way, unlike Donald Trump, has really
Exactly.
rise?
Yeah. I definitely think that helped him with the younger voters for sure.
Ron, same question for you. What is the Franklin Pierce phenomenon about Bernie Sanders?
I think that it's just interesting that someone, an independent nonetheless, came out of nowhere, came out of Vermont, swinging, attacking at Hillary Clinton. Not, and he doesn't necessarily have to do what Donald Trump says. He is the Jedi version of Donald Trump, for lack of a better term. He's able to, put forth substantive policies, actual ideas that'll actually make this country better than what it is now, without having to smear other candidates and basically uh, grow in the polls due to people being entertained. I mean, we gotta look at it. What is Donald Trump? An entertainer. What is Bernie Sanders? Bernie Sanders is a politician who cares about this country and who just wants to see it better. And I think he understands that the millennials are the ones who have the biggest stake in everything right now, and he wants to take care of us. And that's why I wouldn't be opposed to the Democrats picking Bernie Sanders as their nominee.
What do you think they will?
I don't think they'll pick Bernie Sanders as a nominee, depending on, well, obviously we do have to look at the poll numbers. If he's not necessarily as high as Secretary Clinton, and when Joe Biden, and if he throws his hat in, the mix is going to be completely um, shaken up, and then it'll be, even for a lot of political analysts, very difficult to tell who the potential nominee will be.
Sean, you were obviously goofing on Lincoln Shaffer earlier when we talked about poll numbers, and I just really want to get like your perspective on the lower half of the Democratic Party, the Jim Webb who dropped out today.
Yep.
In the Lincoln Chafee and Martin O'Malley even in that mix. How do you think they're even?
I think they're all great politicians, but look, the Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders came into it. CNN pretty much announced it as the Bernie Sanders Hillary Clinton show. I mean, I don't know if you saw the ad for it.
Yeah.
But they had the pictures of Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Then right after the fact is Jim Webb, Martin O'Malley, Lincoln Chafee, very, very quickly. So right away, we pretty much knew it was only going to be about Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. That being said, that doesn't take away from the careers they've had as politicians. Jim Webb didn't really get any substantial time in the debate. I don't think Lincoln Chafee made any great remarks to really help his case. I think the only one of the three was Martin O'Malley with his closing statement. He had a very good closing statement and made some great points.
Do you think that, especially by the younger voter, Martin O'Malley would be able to get back into the race?
I'm sure that's what he's hoping for. Right now, it's too hard to tell. He's still low in the polls.
Ron, any predictions?
With Martin O'Malley specifically, I was reading an editorial. I believe it was either on the Herald or it was on Twitter from another news source, and it was talking about Martin O'Malley took his jacket off on The View and was playing the guitar and was playing Taylor Swift. I think he's swooning a lot of women, and I think he may pick up a lot of women vote. Last time we were at the Boston Herald last Wednesday, the show that precedes ours was talking about the trending tweets and the hashtags on Twitter, and one of them was Martin O'Malley and just how attractive he was as a person.
Really?
And I think that sort of plays into the JFK thing, where JFK was a very handsome individual, and that really increased his poll numbers, especially among women.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for your time. We'll look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning into Fierce Politics on FPTV 25.1. I'm the host, Alex Malm, and we'll be back on in a couple of weeks. Have a good night.